The next thing I want to talk to you around handling stress is involving an equation, E+R equals O. So that's E equals event, R is your reaction to that event, and O is the outcome. Because the stress comes from our reaction to something, which could be anything. It could be that you're trying to get children ready for school and rushing off to a meeting, and the children forget something and you have to go back home, or they drag in their heels in getting ready. Or it might be a train's cancelled, there's a traffic jam, so you're running late. It might be that something you were hoping to pick up at a depot isn't actually there, or it's damaged, or it might be something somebody said to you, knocking a pint of milk over, whatever. It can be any event whatsoever. But the thing is, that event has already happened. It's been, it's gone, it's in the past now. It might only be a few seconds ago, but you can't change it because it's happened. It's part of history now. But your reaction is in the present. So you have control over your reaction. Now, the issue is that we usually respond to things automatically. We tend not to stop and think. We react without that conscious thought, without that conscious decision making. And what happens is your mind is constantly scanning, looking for danger and so on. And when you need to react to something, it's thinking, have we come up against this situation before? Yes. So how did we react before? Oh, we did this, we're still alive, that must be okay. And so it makes that neural connection, and suddenly you've slammed a door, you've shouted, you've pulled a face, whatever it is, beeped your horn, can be anything. But what we want to do is to give yourself a little bit of space between the event and you reacting. Create that space so that you have time to get control. You have time to make a conscious decision about how you actually want to react to this situation. And the reason that's important is however you react to that situation will result in an outcome. So, for instance, if it's shouting at the kids, it might mean that they are less cooperative. It might mean that you spend the rest of the day beating yourself up for being such an unpleasant parent. It might mean that you drive dangerously for a few minutes, that you're overreactive and you put yourself or somebody else in danger. It may be that you then are so full of what's just been said to you and you're replaying it in your head and what you've said that you miss the next part of a meeting and you look a bit foolish because you weren't able to take an opportunity to give some advice or something like that. But what you want is an outcome that you're comfortable with, that you feel you don't need to be embarrassed about, that actually is your ideal or as close to your ideal result as you can get. So we're looking for ways to give you that space from when the event has happened to when you react to it, so that we can improve the outcome that's yet to come. Now, one of the ways that we can do that is simply by taking a breath. Now, we all have heard of the advice of count to 10 before you answer. Well, it's not as silly as it might seem, because by doing that, you are creating that space so that the emotion isn't the thing that necessarily drives you to respond, that you're thinking about it and it's a conscious decision. But if you don't want to count to 10, just literally take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Repeat that 3 times if you can. Just let your shoulders sink down and then say what you want to say. Then react in the way that you want to react, so that you can create that better outcome. So that's one way of doing that. Another way of doing that might be to remove yourself from the situation, but you have to be careful here that you don't create more of an issue by walking out, but it might be that you can just sort of take a step back and let something else carry on while you're thinking about it. Or it might be that you're able to smile at the other person that's involved and just diffuse the situation a little by that. And again, when you're smiling, you can't feel angry or sad when you're smiling, not if it's a genuine smile, because smiling means happy, and you can't feel happy and unhappy at the same time. You can only be one or the other. So put that smile on your face. That sends a little message through your body that everything's okay, and then you're back in control. So a few little ideas, but what's important is recognizing what's happening. That's the key here. It's understanding that you're getting frustrated, angry, disappointed, whatever it is. Understand the thoughts that are going through your mind about, here we go again, I'm being disrespected, I'm being forgotten, ignored, I'm not being thought about, whatever it is. Start to be sensitive to those feelings, the feeling of tension in your body or heat perhaps, the thoughts that are swirling around in your mind, so that you can catch yourself, because these things are in an instant, so that you can catch yourself before you blurt out a reaction that you don't want. Another thing you can think of doing is that until you've really got this down and you've started to create a new automatic reaction, a better habit, if you will, that you start to replay a situation that perhaps you didn't handle at your best, that as soon as you can, in a quiet moment, you replay it, but substitute the reaction you wish you had had and notice the outcome. And keep doing that kind of thing until you've created a different neural pathway, so that you're starting to build that better habit, until your mind, when it's scanning, is picking up on, oh, we could do that, but we could do this. And then you've got a choice that's right there in front of you, and eventually that becomes your default position. So a few things to think about, because if you can control how you're reacting to a situation, to an event, then you're probably going to reduce some of the stress that you may feel afterwards if you feel that you've overreacted to something, because you're likely to keep replaying that in your head and perhaps adding stories to it, which makes it much bigger than it ever actually was in the first place. And that starts to create the stress cycle again.